Good evening, everyone. I am Leadris Elsie, and welcome to another edition of Conversations about Jazz and Other Distractions with our host, Carl Anthony. We're going to jump right into it. I hope you all have been enjoying the series as much as we have been. The talent has been amazing, and tonight is no different. Tonight's show is the Young Guns, and so we're going to talk to the Youngins. And so Carl's going to introduce our guest to you. But before we jump into that, I want to go ahead and take care of the business part of the Hammond House Museum and take care of our housekeeping a little bit. So there are a lot of people that we need to thank for just kind of keeping everything moving, especially during this pandemic, where COVID halted what we do at the museum. And so not only did it halt what we did at the museum, but it also halted, our revenues and our incomes and people coming through the doors and all those kinds of things. And so I want to thank the people, though, that have provided support to us to make us, just kind of help us keep everything going and keep the doors open. So the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs, the Community Foundation of Greater Atlanta. So welcome to them. They are a new funder for the Hammond House Museum, and we are greatly appreciative of their support. AT&T Warner Media, also appreciative of their support, another new supporter this year, and they are really helping us focus in on our digital programming. So we do appreciate them. And then, as always, the National Performance Network out of New Orleans always have been supportive of the museum, and we appreciate their continued support. In addition to these, the big names, also we have really received so much support from just individuals. And so we thank each of you who has gone to our website and just hit the donate button. But then people have been really intentional and decided to become a member, and we really do appreciate you. So thank you so much. So that is the housekeeping. Remember to, if you want to donate, just go to the website and click that button. Or like I said, if you want to be more intentional about how you support the museum, please go onto the website and become a member. We welcome your membership. So that's going to be it for me because I want to jump into this conversation. It's going to be a good one. So let me bring Carl Anthony in. So Carl, why don't you come on in and join me?
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I am good. I'm good tonight. So I'm looking forward to tonight's show. It's going to be a good one.
Oh my, so am I. It's you got a good one this time.
Well,
as we do, not just this time, as we always do.
And you know what? And we always do. And you've been doing a fantastic job. I am so happy that I called you. Because you have really been doing a great job. Not that I expected anything differently, but you have done a wonderful job hosting this show, and I look forward to a very, very long run of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to pop out. I'm going to ask Robbie to take me out of the picture so that you can go ahead and introduce our guests and then bring them on in for a riveting conversation. So have a great show.
All right. Good evening to all of you, and welcome to all of you out there listening and joining us for another edition of Conversations about Jazz and Other Distractions. Without your support, this would not be possible. These shows are a learning experience. And though they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, my education is never ending. I'm looking forward to hearing and learning from these young vanguardians. We have a great show, as I said, this evening with two of the young guns who were gracious enough to join me and are instrumental in shaping the music of a new generation. Now, we had a third party, and I have to say, our prayers go out to Henry Conerway, who was supposed to join us this evening, but he had to take his mom to the hospital, and he is in our prayers, and we look forward to hearing from him very soon in an update. So joining us today are two extremely talented musicians and composers and band leaders. My first guest hails from Detroit. She's now living in New York. She is a 2019 Lincoln Center Emerging Artist Award winner and is the house bassist for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Please welcome Endea Owens.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Endea. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fabulous. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Next, we have a young man out of New Orleans, also now based in New York City, and has been dubbed a wonderkind saxophonist and multi-instrumentalist by the New York Times, who is also a producer and engineer. Please welcome Morgan Guerin.
Hello.
Hey, Morgan.
How's it going? Hey, Endea.
Hey, good to see you again, man. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has. It's been a couple of years, a few years at least.
We were both in Atlanta.
Right.
Want to get started with, as working musicians who got benched due to COVID-19, what have you been doing to keep yourselves busy since the pandemic closed down the country?
So I've been doing actually a lot of playing. At first, I was very nervous because everything stopped. Everything got canceled. So I had to figure out new ways to spread music and like maybe even play with people I've never played with before. So that's granted me the opportunity that I normally don't get being on the scene gig to gig in New York. But it was challenging at first. And then the political and racial climate, of course, made things even harder. But one thing I did in response to COVID and in response to all the protests, I started an organization called the Community Cookout, where I do a free pop-up concert in a different New York community, and I give out 100 free meals minimum.
Wow.
Every time. So that's been like a source of just extreme positivity and just seeing everyone together, the community really leaning on each other has been great. And I'm so thankful that I'm a part of it. And I'm so thankful to be working with new people and to also be able to find musicians to work with my project.
And how are you dealing with the social distancing aspect of these pop-ups?
We social distance. We found out ways to do it. Sometimes we put chalk circles on the ground. We always hand out hand sanitizer, masks. A lot of people don't have them, so we always have that. So we've been able to get around that.
And about how many people show up when you do these pop-ups?
A lot. So we always have food for at least 100 people and more. So so many people come through, and the line is endless. And within 45 minutes, the food is gone, but people stay to hear the music. So you still have people dancing. You still have kids coming around, curious about jazz, curious about music. You have jazz being played in communities like it should be. Just the exposure to these things, like a live concert, is something amazing.
So are you in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens? Are you all over, or just different communities?
Different communities. Well, I'm based in Harlem.
Okay.
So the first few of them were in Harlem, but now I'm expanding to Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, the forgotten one.
Oh my God. Staten Island. Nobody goes there. Cool. Morgan, what have you been up to?
Yeah, the whole quarantine was kind of rocky. So like at the first bit of it, I wasn't really doing anything musically. And then I had this roulette commission that I was commissioned last year that I had to get done anyway. That ended up getting postponed, which was good because I had extra time to work on it. But that was a huge chunk of my quarantine, just working on that and finishing up my record and moving apartments. So, and then, trying to figure out ways to, keep making music with people. Like I'm producing some projects now. I'm doing a lot of mixing. And, stuff like that. And, New York it's staying strong, thanks to Endea and the other people like that, so it's good to see that people are still trying to get together and, keep working and keep making music. So I'm just trying to be a resource, offering my space and, people reaching out to me to mix their stuff and, all the good stuff.
All right, and make sure you let us know about the nonprofit that you're doing, so people can
Okay.
get in contact with that too. Okay.
Okay.
They say the instrument chooses the musician, and when I was a kid, my dad brought me home a saxophone with no instruction. I had no idea what kind it was, and we had no school band, so I really didn't understand why he was bringing me home this instrument. Anyway, it didn't choose me, but it did help me get into this life of music that I'm in. How did your instrument choose you?
Well, I guess I can give you a little. So first of all, my grandma plays bass and my dad plays bass. My mom plays piano, so it was like already in the family, those other instruments. And my grandma kind of gravitated me towards the drums. Like she would sit me on her lap and put her arms around mine and play grooves, and then she would let go, and I'd still keep the groove, stuff like that. And I'm like one or whatever, and I mean, so there was that. And then on Halloween in 2005, I was given an alto saxophone from Wessel Anderson. And I didn't play it for like 2 years because I just was so interested in the drums already. But then a funny story happened at a church I used to play at, and I stopped wanting to play drums, and then I started shedding saxophone. Long story. And then, like I said, my parents played both bass and drums, so I not bass and piano. So I kind of got that from them. So I guess it was just in me from jump. I think.
You play a ton of instruments, so you just gravitated to each instrument that was played in the family and picked up some extras along the way.
Yeah, I feel like in cases where I've had to play something new, it was always like somebody asking me, "Can I do this?" And they just need somebody to play this. Like in high school, I was offered I was not really offered, more so like told to play oboe in like our symphonic band, and he gave me like a month to learn it and to learn the music, and we had the concert and all that stuff, and it was pretty hard. And I mean, so things like that, like I learned oboe for that. And then maybe like Terry Lynn with the bass, like before I started playing with Terry Lynn, I wasn't really taking electric bass as seriously as I am now. But thanks to her just giving me the opportunity to, play more bass, then I really took it more seriously. So I feel like all the instruments that I play were presented to me as challenges, and then I just started to fall in love with them afterwards.
Wow, amazing. Endea. I love it when you play bass. So
Yeah, that's so cool. I didn't even know that many people play bass in your family, Morgan. That's so cool.
Yeah, everybody, so fun.
Yeah, I never knew that. So I actually started on a Christmas day. My mom gave me a Yamaha keyboard when I was 8 years old. And from then on out, I could play everything that I heard on the radio, things that I would hear from church, I could play. And it was great. So eventually my school had a free music program. I transitioned to the violin and I loved it so much. I loved how it felt. I loved the breathing, just the essence of it. And in high school, I think my freshman or sophomore year of high school, my teacher actually heard me playing Mozart Symphony 25 by ear on the bass. And he told me to switch because they needed a bass player. I was so reluctant. I said no. I was just kidding, just kidding. But so he said, play the bass or get an F. So I chose the bass, and he told me that he would thank me later. After that, I met Marcus Belgrave for the first time, and he was the one that really pushed me to keep playing it. And that was like my first real introduction to jazz and how to play it. Like he would try to play it for me and tell me this is how you do it. But for the most part, I was teaching myself. And through him, I met Rodney Whitaker. And he was probably the person, I don't think I would make it this far. I would have made it this far without Rodney, because he gave me a full ride to go to Michigan State. And yeah, like he taught me everything that I know. He really did. And I started electric bass around that same time. And I grew to love it. I mean, I've always loved bass. You know, every time you hear a bass line, everybody sings it. Everybody does that. So I never knew how much I loved it so much until I played it. So that was my story. And I'm actually the only musician in my family. So it's been a really great gift. And I'm thankful for all my mentors.
So you mentioned something earlier with the violin about the breathing.
Mm-hmm.
What is the instrument breathing, or are you breathing?
It's just it's something about the unity of bands and orchestral settings. Just taking that big breath together. I think that's just so impactful. That's like a different experience. I feel different feelings compared to jazz, compared to R&B, compared to hip hop. But classical music was just such a release from what me and my friends were growing up around. It just was an escape. Like that was our peaceful secret place. Like even when class was over, we would get together, do little bops on the on the classical music, just creating. That's all we did. And I went to the Detroit School of Arts. So it was just yeah, the breathing is, it's just a different feeling. And just the act of breathing through life is something that releases a lot of anxiety, a lot of it just makes you automatically calm. So so that's why I loved it so much.
You might have answered this, but my greatest influence was my first boss who owned an ad agency. And the first thing he taught me was to look at ads from a different perspective, not as a consumer, but as the seller, and what was their thought process. And it's most of my life. Who is your greatest influence?
My mother.
Okay.
My mother. She was the driving force behind it all. No matter what, she was the one that raised the money to get on the bus to go to my auditions. She was the one that encouraged me. She was the one that gave me that piano. The one that would repair the violin at the shop. I mean, she is my greatest influence. And after her, it would be Rodney, because he's also a Detroiter. But he was so patient with me as a student. And he was able, he has a gift of seeing the potential in students, not the students that have been in every lesson or at essentially Ellington every year. Like he sees the gift, like when no one else does. So those two are definitely my greatest inspirations.
Okay. Morgan?
Probably my mother and my brother. And all my family, of course, but those two, especially lately, because we've been grinding as a unit, like differently than how we've been grinding as a unit, like before I moved to New York. So we just, especially, I mean, me growing up, I mean, I moved to Atlanta in 2009, and my mom was there to pretty much raise me and help me out and get me where I need to go and teach me how to figure out things on my own. So, and then, my brother, his mind is unbelievable, and he's 2 years younger than me. So those two, especially right now, definitely my biggest influences.
Okay, you say your brother's mind is different. How so?
I mean, he's just really smart. I mean, he's just a brilliant dude. I mean, he's computer smart, he's book smart. He's extremely talented when it comes to photography, and he's always motivating me to just not do I don't know, just not waste my time, just to make smart decisions, just to think about the future. And you know, he we really look out for each other now, for sure.
He's like your Jiminy Cricket. Your conscience keeps you on the narrow, huh?
Even when we don't communicate, it's still in there.
Both of you are composers. When you compose, you start with your first instrument, or do you use another instrument to help you compose music?
It depends. It depends on like what part of the song I'm composing first, or what idea comes first. Like if it's something rhythmic, or if it's something like melodic or harmonic or lyrical. So it just depends on where I'm at. It's so funny. I write the least amount of songs on the saxophone. I don't write anything on the saxophone. It's really hard for me. I don't know. But I also it's most inviting for me to write on instruments that I know the least about, because I'm kind of figuring my way through the instrument while figuring my way through the song. So there's this aspect of like I can't really describe, but there's this aspect of just like meeting something for the first time and trying to work with it and figure out what you can do with it. And I don't know. It just depends.
But eventually you have to like write the saxophone parts.
Depend if the song has saxophone in it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. But I mean, that would come. It just depends. Everything is so different, especially nowadays. I'm trying not to come off too strong as solely a saxophone player. So I try to do that in my songs as well these days, or my CDs, not like really my live songs, but I'm getting there.
Endea?
So I have a ton of miniature jingles on my voice memos. So I usually start whenever I have an idea, I grab my phone and I try to sing it out first. Or I start with the melody, I play it on piano. But if I have a bass line first, that's a different process. I kind of have to think about it extremely differently. Like if I want to ostinato, or if I want to do changes, that involves a lot of piano for me. So that's really my process, and I try to just pull from everything that I'm inspired by, everything that I grew up on. I always want my music to feel familiar in some sort of way. So it's more of a deep thinking process. And so usually it's the melody or the bass line first.
Okay. Do you hear all the instruments at one time on a song necessarily when you're composing it? Or do they come one at a time?
Sometimes I do have 3 horn players in my band. So I always want them to play together in some sort of round or solo together. I just wonder, I always try to think of what that would sound like if they had like the New Orleans type vibe where everyone just plays together on the street. What lines can I pull from that? Or a Detroit bass line? What lines go with that? What are the harmonies? Do I want McCoy Tyner kind of harmonies on the horns, or do I want something more simple? So that's what I always think about. But sometimes I do hear everything at once. It's just putting it on paper.
What about you, Morgan?
About hearing things at once?
Yeah.
50-50.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm just like, like, oh shoot, this idea is fire. Like a bass line needs to be this, the horns need to be this, and the singer needs to be doing this or whatever. And then sometimes I'm like, man, like I don't know what this is, but I'm just gonna put this to the side and come back to it in a week or a month or whatever. So it really depends. But I'm the same as Endea with the voice memos too. I have a ton of stuff just in the vault. Yeah.
I really didn't. I never knew how musicians compose music, and then I saw the movie Amadeus, and he's on the pool table doing this whole symphony, and he could hear every instrument playing at the same time, and he's transcribing, and the bassoon does this, and the kettle drum does, And I was like, oh my God, what kind of genius here is like every instrument, all. So it's interesting talking to you to understand your processes. Betty Carter was always asked why she used young people. She was like, because they always come with fresh ideas. Old guys are playing the same stuff they've been playing for like years. So do you when you compose, do you direct it to your generation necessarily, or are you just composing for everybody, when you create songs?
I feel like everybody's too many people. Sometimes, I mean, like, usually, I guess people in my generation, but I'm trying to also, I guess a strategy I was thinking about the whole time I was creating this recent project was something that sounded 70s, but lived in 2020, something like that to bridge the two worlds. So, because that's like maybe my favorite time period of music.
The 70s? Morgan, you said the 70s or? Okay,
well, it might be frozen.
It froze up. So, Endea, why don't you take over?
Okay. Oh, there's Morgan.
We back.
Okay. So the 70s is your favorite period of music?
70s, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was a good time. It really, really was.
I wish I could be there.
In New York. So Endea, you?
Yeah, so I agree with Morgan. Everybody is a lot of people. But I feel like at a certain point, you also have to write what feels good to you. Because I think if you do it to please others too much, then it becomes something that's non-organic. It doesn't become authentic at all. So like I said, familiarity is my thing. So I just try to pull from all my sources, all my inspirations. I just want it to sound like one big blob of everything that I've ever listened to. So I do it for me, and I do want people to feel good when they hear my music. I want them to feel inspired. I want to tap into those emotions. But it's also important for me to look back and know that I did that authentically, and I love what I did, and it's just my voice. And I also it's important for me to let my non-musician friends hear my music, and dancers. I always try to run it by them first to see if they bop to it or dance to it, or they might say like, oh, this needs a little bit, they don't use musician terms. They said it needs to be a little bit more extra right here, or I don't really think that's you right here. So I always run it by my friends.
Now, living in New York, they've been protesting since forever. The whole police brutality and, Black Lives Matter. Does any of that come into your music? Have any factor on your composing? What's going on right now?
Yeah. I had this song called Abina that was really written for my little sister, just explaining to her like what really goes on in the world today, and just to tell her that she's gonna be great in the world regardless. And that was on the record, and it released. Well, I released it maybe a week or two. I don't remember exactly when, but like around when the protest started happening for the first time, and it was. I mean, it's something that I think about in the music regardless, because it's just being Black. You know, I think about that element of day-to-day life when I'm just living, so it comes out in my compositions naturally. But it's definitely, it's definitely always implied regardless.
Yeah, so I was at the protest about the second day it happened for 2 to 3 weeks after that. And after the first week, I decided to bring some musicians so we could play along with the protests. So that was extremely powerful. But then I lost my will to write at the time. It was just so many emotions going on, and you have so many questions. Why does this keep happening? So I had to tap in to myself in the community for about a month to find like inspiration, because honestly I was like, I don't really like, I want to write some more music, but this keeps happening. So I did end up writing through friends pushing me to write. I actually have a song entitled For the Brothers, and I wrote it around Trayvon Martin's murder, but I decided to add on to it during this time. During the protests, I added lyrics, I added more instrumentation, and after that, I wrote a few more songs. So I tried to think about the joy in our culture and just how that in itself is revolutionary. That's what keeps me writing. Just being able to transcend through whatever is going on in the world right now. So that's where I pull from.
Okay. When you, how do you engage your audience beyond just playing music?
I
You're on stage, you got an audience out there, and everybody's there to hear the music, but how do you engage them beyond that?
so I am notorious for walking into the audience, get, getting people to stand up. It's a lot of electric slides going around, and so
Okay.
I do that all the time. But even more importantly, I I make it my business to tell the backstories on other composers that I arrange, and the stories behind why I wrote what I wrote. Because
Mhm.
everything that we say on that stage has an impact to at least one person. So I do that, and then I have people dance and sing whatever they want to do.
Okay. Morgan?
Yeah. I wish I could dance, but
Everybody can dance, Morgan.
yeah, no, definitely I agree with the backstories and the just saying how the song was born, or who was there, so it just brings the listener a little bit closer to the whole experience. And it really, like I said, everything's, like she said, everything counts on the stage, nothing's wasted. And so yeah, I mean, it's interesting, like so many people, including myself sometimes, can just get on stage and say absolutely nothing. And it's something that I need to kind of get out of, because, well, not me necessarily, but sometimes maybe when I do that on stage or whatever, but something that I'm working on. But yeah, basically just telling stories. And yeah, I'm working on it. So
And I mean, it's something we all have to do. I mean, I remember going to Abdullah Ibrahim concert, and he played this suite, and for like the first 30 minutes, I had no idea what he was playing because he never introduced it. He never told anybody, and I had never heard it before. Fortunately, a colleague of mine was sitting next to me, and I asked him, he was like, "Do you know what this is?" He was like, "Yeah, it's the African Suite." You know,
Oh yeah, I think you told me about this.
right? And it put it, you know, at least put it into context. You know, I still didn't know the history behind it, but you know, it's like listening to a piece of music and you have like no clue about its name or what it's about. So, on that note, Endea, you wrote a song called "Feel Good."
Yes, I
And
did.
we're going to take a listen to it, part of some of it, but you know, set it up for us. How did this song come about?
Okay, so this song came about at the Ravinia Institute. I was studying with Rufus Reed there, and we were writing so many songs, so many odd meters, and it was such a great experience. But I got kind of homesick, and I wanted to hear the four to the floor. Like I wanted to hear something that reminded me of Cuba, because one of the things that I said when I first got to Cuba, I was like, this is Detroit, but just in Spanish. It reminded me so much of home. And I wanted it to swing. I wanted it to do everything. I just wanted it to feel good. So that's how it came about after a week of writing a lot of music.
Okay, so we're going to take a listen to that, and then we'll be back. See,
Yeah.
I see why you call that feel good.
Wow. That's when I first wrote it.
So who were the sidemen with you?
That was Robert Boone on drums.
I was about to say that's Robert Boone. I know Robert.
Yeah, yeah. The horn section, they were all from Florida. That was Joe on trumpet. Uh, and that was Alex on saxophone. And the guitarist, he's from Jersey, but it's been a few years, so I actually yeah.
Yeah. You've been sidemen and band leaders. Morgan, you've been your own band for most of the time.
Not when I play live though.
And recording.
Yeah.
Is it difficult to switch hats from sideman to band leader?
No, not anymore. Well, actually, I take that back. Yes, it's very different things. Yeah, because it's responsibility with both, obviously, but there's a lot more responsibility with the band leader side. But that's just how I feel.
What about you, Endea?
Yeah, it is very different. And the role of a sideman is you have to know what it means to be a sideman. It means learning all of their music and playing it in the way that they want to play it, not the way you want to play it if you were the leader. So I think that's where most people struggle with. But I love being a side person. I love being a band leader, but like Morgan said, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of booking your own gigs, making sure that everyone in the band is playing what you envisioned. That's also a hard task, especially as a bass player, because usually our role isn't to be a leader, a band leader, in that aspect.
But you got Mingus, you got McBride, you got Whitaker. I mean, you got all these folks
Yeah.
who, sidemen and band leaders, and good at it. So
Yeah.
I take my hat off to you. Do you prefer being a band leader or a side person?
I love both, but I love being a band leader because I feel like my voice is being heard. And as a woman in the music, the whole reason why I developed my band was because I felt like my voice was being minimized in some spaces sometimes. So I created my own band, and I was able to pick and choose all the music, and to also have my current band represent everything that I think music should be. It should be inclusive. You should see everyone in there. And yeah, that's what it represents, and I love being a band leader.
What about you, Morgan?
Do I like being a band leader more, or
which one do you prefer?
It depends, honestly. I love being a side person, especially when I'm like being able to hop around and stuff, like play whatever. Like there was a show, a tour that I had to do where I had to play like keys, sax, bass, and like some background vocals. And I mean that I wouldn't really do it on my own show. I just wouldn't. But it's really fun when it's somebody else's music. But then when it's my own stuff, like I just did a commission and it was like violas, cellos, and flutes and bassoon, and I didn't really play most of the show. I conducted. So I mean that's also a ton of fun for me as well. So I'm
okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So when you put together an album, you got a ton of songs. Do you look at one theme that connects all the songs together, almost like Coltrane's "The Love Supreme" or Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On," or do you just put songs on that have different messages, like you were saying earlier, so that your voice can be heard different kinds of ways?
It really depends on who is in the band, and it depends on the mood and the audience. Sometimes I have a set list and I might change it based on the feel of the audience. But normally some days I want to do Cedar Walton and Art Blakey. That's what I want to do. Or I might have a show where I just want to do all of my original music. But I always think there should be highs and lows as far as the mood is concerned in the show, just so it doesn't become stagnant. So I'll have a swing tune, fast hitting swing tune. I'll have a little bit of a song with maybe an R&B feel, or I might have What's Going On. I might have People Make the World Go Round. Then I'll do Joe Henderson. Then I'll do Nancy Wilson. The options are endless, just as long as it's a little bit of everything.
What about when you record? Is it thematic, or is it?
I like to have a general theme. Okay. Yeah, I recorded in February. It's on the way out. This
and we're looking forward to it.
Yes, but I wanted to keep a main theme for that record, a main type of feeling. So I did do that for that record, but some of the songs were different, and I made those differences based on mood, based on meter, based on instrumentation, whether I wanted drums and bass for this certain song, or did I want the whole 7-piece band.
Okay. Morgan, your Saga series has been amazing. You're into your third one right now. And you keep adding stuff to them as you progress. Is the Saga series a theme, or does each release have a specific?
Yeah, so the whole series was just basically, to me, to put out a series of offerings before I turned 21. Pretty much, I had this like little thing in high school where I had a basement and a bunch of instruments and a bunch of like recording gear, and I would always collect stuff. And I was like, you know what? So I mean, I didn't really. It's funny. The first Saga that I did, I didn't intend it to be a trilogy. That wasn't really intended. But when I had wrote the second one, well, when I released it, maybe something after that was like there, because I mean the whole series is just like a audio autobiography of me, basically. And just like think of like the first one and the second one as like an update from the first one, and the third one is an update from the second one. But yeah, so I mean the whole general theme is just my upbringing. So
the third one, it sounds a little bit more orchestral. You got some voices in there. Who is the young lady singing on this? We're going to listen to Paragon.
Okay. Yeah, that's Debo Ray singing on Paragon.
Okay. And
she wrote the lyrics too.
Okay. Wasn't she on the second one too?
No, she wasn't.
Okay, that was another female voice I heard.
Yeah.
It sounded similar.
Yeah, thanks.
So why Paragon? What's the story behind that?
It's really just a song it's interesting. It was originally written for like my mother, but not that it's not written for my mother, but it's a song basically just telling myself about life in the future or something. Like it's really interesting. She wrote, like I said, she wrote the lyrics for that one, and I was just kind of scrambling to find a title for it because I had this song written for the longest, and called something completely different. It was called From, like, like at the end of a letter, like from Morgan. Like, so it's basically just a letter, the whole song. It's a letter. But there's some more things that I just can't think of at this very moment to touch on about that particular song, but overall it's a letter.
Well, then let's just take a listen.
Yeah.
Right.
Is everything the way that it's supposed to be? Is it possible to understand what you believe? I wish you could have shown me all the ways that you went wrong. So far gone from things that weren't seen from the moment I began. Recalling something deeper than the lies you hold, and embracing your reality as you grow old. Remember all the ways you chose to break your life apart. Choosing now will bring you to the present, where you can be free to wonder how to be here now, to relive your memory and set it Is anything the way that it's supposed to be? Is it possible to understand what you believe? I wish you could have shown me all the ways that you went wrong. So far gone from things that weren't seen from the moment I began.
A little bit. Yeah. So we've got about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to ask one important question. Do you see the industry empowering more women to be band leaders or be inclusive in bands post-pandemic?
Yes, slowly but surely. I'm seeing a lot of younger women musicians coming up, a lot that are contacting me, a lot that are asking for advice. So that's always a good thing. But when it comes to inclusivity and when it comes to all women groups, I think it's more important to show women on the same playing field and on the same stage as their male counterparts, not just the all women band, but male and female together on stage. And not because they need a woman in the band, because their music is appreciated and their level of artistic vision and art and craftsmanship and mastery of their craft is appreciated. So I think that's the way to go, because sometimes when I feel like we get stuck in the all women band thing, and that's a dangerous line to go down. So I think that'll be the change when people actually see it. It's represented on stage. It's represented on the tours.
Yeah, I agree with everything she said. And I feel like as men, we can do our part by hiring more women, just period. And I mean, I always try to make it a point, to have a woman in the band, not just because she's a woman, but because she can play, and it's, I mean, I agree with the inclusivity, all that, but yeah, slowly but surely. But I have a ton of musician friends who are women, and they inspire the crap out of me. So, it's great, but it still, needs to be more work done in that aspect.
Okay. Go
One,
ahead.
I'm sorry. One more thing that I do want to add. I would like to see more of women's stories told in our books, in our education.
Yes.
I think that would start something amazing, and that would start for even more women to feel inspired just to hear the stories and be taught the songs, the music, even if it's just Lil Hardin Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can just start with her, because her works are endless. Mary Lou Williams, Melba Liston, it's so many.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
And without Lil Harmon,
it's no Lewis.
There was no Lewis. She pretty much made him.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without no Mary Lou Armstrong, there's like nobody. Like.
Right. Yeah. Okay, 5 quick questions. You're stranded on an island. What 5 albums would you take with you?
Ooh.
Okay, 2. Yeah.
2.
If 5 too many. Yeah.
We're on an island.
My bass, paper, and a pen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
If you couldn't play music, what occupation would you attempt?
Either a lawyer, historian, or science teacher.
Okay.
Wow. I don't really think about that. But maybe like interior designer.
Okay.
Or like engineer, technician, something.
Okay. What's your favorite comfort food?
Comfort food?
Yep.
Dang.
Mac and cheese and banana pudding.
That is hard. I mean, I don't know. So many foods make me comfortable.
Give me one then.
Gumbo.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. That works. What are you guys listening to these days?
Stravinsky.
Okay.
Wow. I'm actually listening to a lot of gospel, a lot of Kiki Sheard, a lot of Twinkie Clark from the earlier times, a lot of Joe Henderson, Tetragon. I'm playing that so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to a lot of Oscar Pettiford now,
Mhm.
just trying to go back to the foundation of the bass with Paul Chambers,
Mm-hmm.
George DeVivier,
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Jackson as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And last but not least, what do you do to get away from your job? Your job being music. How do you like relax and chill?
I'll put the instrument down.
Well, you got a lot of instruments to put down.
Go sit on the couch.
Okay.
Turn on some Avatar or something. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Or cook.
All right.
Yeah, I go to the beach. I love being by the beach. I go hang out with friends. We go dancing. Actually, dancing is probably number one, just to release all of that tension, all the work. And I go on my bike with my big speaker,
Mhm.
blast music through Harlem.
Okay.
The messenger.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. And Endea and Morgan, I want to thank you for gracing me with your presence and your wisdom and your knowledge. You know, like I said at the beginning, I always learn something. You know, so thank you for being here. I want to thank my audience also for joining and being a part of all of this. And before we leave out, we're going to listen to a little bit of Henry Conerway's tune with Pride for Dignity as we close out the show. But right now, I'm going to thank my producer, Robbie Wyndham, the marketing guru, Karen Hatchett, for being here and helping this all come about, and also the executive producer and executive director of Hammond's House Museum, Ms. Leatrice Elsie. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl, and Morgan and Endea. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. And I want to also say thank you to everyone and to tune in next time. So our next show is on what's the date, Carl? 29th?
And
Yeah.
it's the vocalist.
That's going to be exciting.
Yes.
Do you want to say what the lineup is, or do you want to surprise people?
No, I'm gonna tell them so they can get ready for it.
Mhm.
We have Carmen Bradford, we have Kathleen Bertrand, and we have Lenora Zenzele Helm joining us.
Nice.
It's gonna be a really, really good show, just like this one. So again, thank you for coming by and hanging out with me, and it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Back to you, Leatrice.
Thank you. Well, everyone, I just have to repeat, just join us for the next show. Keep on coming back for more and more. This show will be, the plans are that we'll just continue to move forward with it. And also remember that if you want to stop by the Hammond's House website and drop off a donation for the organization and for the museum, or become a member, we are more than welcome and the doors are open. So please do so. So once again, thank you, Carl, and thanks everybody for being here. So Carl, I'll let you toss it to Robbie so she can bring up Henry's song.
Robbie, back to you.